Hi everyone, I am back with the 2017 Mickey and Minnie card series. This is the first part of the video that will be at the beginning of every video for the series for you. And this is the cutting of the cardstock to create the corner fold for the card. So what you need is your card base, which is going to be 5.5 by 8.5. I will just zoom out a little so you guys can see. So you need a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece for your card base. I'm using black again. Then you're going to score that at 4.25, and then you're going to need a trimmer. Now I've got the Stampin' Up trimmer, which is perfect for this. I know Fiskars has one that's similar, that's got the little V-blade that you can get, and the reason that we're using one like this is because we are cutting in the middle of the card, so a rotary cutter is just not going to work. You're not going to get the precise cut that you need. So if you've got this type of trimmer already, perfect. If not, Stampin' Up does carry these, and there's always a link in the description below. So yeah, now what I did with mine is, I'm going to zoom back in. I have marked mine, as you can see, with some white cardstock. So the measurements that you're actually going to be using are going to be the 5/8 mark, the 2.5, the 3, and the 4 7/8. The reason I marked mine is if I move this cardstock out of the way, there's a dark brown print underneath this, and I can't really read that when I have darker cardstock underneath there. So I just took a thin piece of washi tape and just wrote on it with a really fine Sharpie, and there you have it. So let's get to the cutting. Now here's our score mark at the 4.25. So what we're going to do is take this edge of our card, and I am working around my tripod, so excuse all the arms and hands in the way. So we're going to line this up at the 3-inch mark. We're going to take our blade, move it to the 2.5, and we're going to cut, down to the 4 7/8. So you should have a little cut there. Then we're going to turn it, and we're going to line it up at the 3 again. Then we're going to move our blade to the 3-inch. And we're going to cut upward to the 5/8. And you should have a little slit like this. So that's how you do the cutting. Okay, so now that you have your cut piece done for your card, I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in half. And I already did that, so you'll just crease that really good, and then with your corner fold you'll just basically fold it back onto itself, and then go ahead and crease that. So there we have the card base. So the little piece under here, the pattern piece under here, I'm using these cute little Easter eggs, and you don't have to do this. This is completely an optional piece, but I like to just slide it right under here to give it a little bit more. So the way that I did this, because I've already cut mine, is from your top left corner you just measure over 5/8 of an inch and put like a little pencil mark, and then your bottom right corner you measure up 1 7/8, and then you just cut them diagonally. So you can do that with a ruler and a craft knife, or stick it right in your trimmer, lining up your little tick marks, and then giving that a good slice. So yeah, now we're going to go ahead and attach this, but we're not going to put any adhesive on this diagonal spot here, because it will glue our piece shut. Because I did do that one time. And I was like, uh-oh, what happened? So I'm just doing the little bits on the top. There we go. So this should basically fit, just kind of butted up against that crease. And that usually takes me a second to make sure all my sides are even. And then you just kind of place that down. So it'll look like that. So there we go. And now you can take this and go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive there, and that'll hold that piece down from flipping up. Once you place the inside, it'll also hold this down, so, you know, either way. Alright, so the front, we're going to do our two matted piece, or our two pieces for our mats. Now my white cardstock measures 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. I should know that by now. I've made this card several times. I just don't retain it. Okay, and then your pattern piece is going to be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So we're just going to layer these up, get those on the top, put our mat on the inside, do some stamping, that kind of thing. Alright, so let's get this piece right on the front. And then we'll do the inside. Alright, so with this right here on the front, you're going to have a slight little border of that black cardstock, which I really like. So there we have the outside. So we're going to go ahead and put our inside piece in. And this piece measures, I think it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, but let me see. Yeah, so my inside piece, just using white cardstock, is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. We're just going to attach that right to the inside. And we can do some of our stamping. Okay, so we'll stick this in here. We'll put our other little mat on the inside also as well. So you're going to cut another square, 2 7/8 by 2 7/8. And then another pattern piece at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So we're going to layer this up. This is just to cover up that weird triangular spot from our paper on the outside of the card. So again, this is kind of an optional thing. You don't have to do it, but I like that it covers this little space up here. So make sure I'm not going to put this on upside down. Part of my little pattern on this piece has some hearts on it, and I don't want them upside down. So if you're using directional paper, you're going to want to make sure that you put it on right side up. So again, I'm going to leave just a little bit of that black border. And once you attach that, then the inside looks like that. There's the outside. So we're going to do some stamping. So on the outside, I'm going to stamp these little Easter eggs. Again, if you didn't watch the supply video, I'm using some Stamps by Judith. I have a dry spot in my throat really bad. Oh my god. Stamps by Judith sticks. And this is the little Easter egg that looks like this. So for this one, since I'm using a yellow bow for Minnie's head, I went ahead and tried to match that with some ink. And the best one that it matched with is the Memento. I have these little dewdrops and I'm using the Dandelion. So I'm going to go ahead and just, oh, that dry spot is killing my throat. Okay, I'm going to do this. So I usually, dang, do one up here in the corner. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink of this coffee really quick because it's driving me crazy. Man, okay. So I usually do one up in the corner. And then another one this way. And I just kind of alternate the direction of the little eggs or whatever it is that you're stamping. So there end up being about 7 of them on here. So 3 on each side and 1 up in the corner. So they look like that. And we'll clean that off in a second. I didn't get a wipe. Okay, so let's do some more stamping. We're actually going to stamp our sentiment. And again, I'm using the Teeny Tiny Wishes. So I'm going to use the Happy Easter right there. Just stamp that. I'm going to stamp that in the dandelion ink as well. So we're just going to stamp this and then punch it out using my modern label punch, which is retired. So Stampin' Up! Does not currently carry this, unfortunately. And then I'm also going to use my modern label. Did I say there's a word window? I always say the wrong one. So that was the word window. This is the modern label punch, which is retired. And yes, I use retired products because I bought them for a reason, so I might as well use them. And these are my 2 most favorite punches that I have from Stampin' Up! So I'm just using some of these little basic rhinestones from Stampin' Up! And then we're going to go ahead and layer our sentiment on top of our modern label piece. And if you don't have these punches, it is not a big deal. I just really love using them. You can use anything that you have to punch or hand cut your sentiments out. It does not matter. This is not restricted to only some of my Stampin' Up! Products at all. You can use whatever sentiments you have, whatever punches you have. This is just how I do it. Okay, so there's our little sentiment piece, and now we are going to decorate our Mickey and Minnie heads. Looks like I'm going to have to start making some more here pretty soon. Alright, so let's get these guys on here. And then we will put our sentiment down. And then our card will be complete. Now, if you wanted to pop these guys up on dimensionals, you can. I just don't do that because I already have the bow as a layer of dimension, and I always put my sentiment on a couple of dimensionals from Stampin' Up! So I already have enough, and if you wanted to put this in the mail, you don't want it to be too thick when you're trying to mail it because it gets squished in the envelopes. So I usually just have 1 layer of dimension. Alright, gotta grab the glue dots. Let's see. There we go. We'll get this bow on. Hello. There's my phone, sorry. Alright, so here's Minnie's little bow. And then we'll grab a couple of dimensionals, get our sentiment popped up, and you only need a couple of them on here. You could do 3 if you wanted, all the way across, which I think I've done a few times. I don't even know. I'm not very consistent at my dimensionals. Alright, so we're just going to place this kind of centered on the front of the card. Like so. That looks pretty good. So there we have it. There is our Easter Mickey and Minnie card for 2017. Here's the inside of the card. I hope you guys like this. I hope you're having fun following along with the series, and if you have any questions or comments or anything, just leave those down below. I will leave links in the description. There's always a link to my Stampin' Up! Website in case you're interested in any of the products that I use that are current. And I will also have a link to the video for the Mickey heads because I get a lot of questions on where I get them or things like that. And I don't buy them, I make them. So I know some of you who have been following along for a few years for the series know that I make them, but for all the new people coming in, I do make them. So I will put a link to the video of how I show you how to make them, so you guys can find that pretty easily. And that's it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!